So, you ever dust off an old game and think, wow, I used to love this. I'd come home from school, throw my backpack in a corner and lose myself in this game for hours. And now, I play it for 10 minutes and nothing. It's like meeting an old friend and realizing you've both changed. So, what happened? Why do we stop loving the games we used to? Let's dig into it. So, first off, let's talk about nostalgia. Nostalgia is basically the rose-colored glasses of gaming. When we think back to those epic late-night sessions with friends, or the thrill of beating a tough boss, we're remembering the feeling, not necessarily the game itself. Games like Goat Simulator felt groundbreaking at the time, but play it now and you might wonder how we survived those clunky controls. It's not the games that's changed, maybe it's us. And that's the thing. As we grow, our tastes evolve. Remember when every game needed to have explosions, lasers and maybe a zombie or two? Now I'm over here playing Stardew Valley, because planting virtual parsnips is my idea of a wild Friday night. And it's not that the games we love were bad, it's just that they don't align with who we are in this moment. Think about it. When we were kids, we had time, lots of it. We could spend hours running through Super Mario 64, exploring every nook and cranny just because we could. The thrill of finding a secret level, pure magic. But now, a game that requires me to spend more than an hour on a single side quest feels like a commitment. And don't get me wrong, I love a good open world adventure, but sometimes I'm like, is it too late to just watch a YouTube video and call it a day? Now, another big reason why we stop loving old games is time. As kids, we didn't have responsibilities. The only thing on our to-do list was save the princess or defeat the evil dragon. Now, it's more like go to work, remember to drink water and pay the evil taxes. And oh yeah, try to fit in gaming. Gone are the days of dedicating 6 hours to Final Fantasy VII. Now it's like, can I finish one round of Fortnite before my phone reminds me I have 38 unread emails? Let's talk about the pressure of gaming today. It's 2024 and now there are 1,000 new games released every month. You can't even browse Steam without feeling like there's some new epic story you're missing out on. And with this pressure to keep up with the latest and greatest, it can be easy to forget why we fell in love with games in the first place. The new releases are exciting, don't get me wrong. You have perfect games like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. But sometimes I look at my backlog and I think, why does this feel more like an obligation than a hobby? And then the worst part, the decision overload. You've got a million choices at your fingertips, but now you're just staring at your library like it's a menu at a 5-star restaurant. You don't know what to pick. The only thing that's certain is that you're gonna leave hungry, wanting more. You don't know what to play. The indie horror game that's been getting 5-star reviews, the RPG with a 200-hour playtime, or the game I've played 100 times before but I still can't resist it. So, why does this all matter? Because gaming is about fun, isn't it? And when the pressure of choice, time, constraints and changing tastes take over, it can feel like your love for games just fades away. But that doesn't mean it's completely gone. It's just evolving, and honestly, maybe that's okay. So here's what I've realized over the past few years. Maybe it's not about trying to recapture that childhood joy. I think it's more about learning to love gaming again, but in a way that fits who we are right now. As we grow up, we need to find games that match our current energy, interest and lifestyle. It's like growing up with a favorite band. You don't listen to the same songs forever, but you still appreciate the music in a different way. What I've done is trying to experiment with different genres. Last week I picked a narrative-driven game instead of a big-budget action title, and you know what? It was exactly what I needed. It's not that I outgrew action games, it's that my tastes have shifted. And probably I'll go back to action games in a few weeks. Sometimes it's less about playing what I should play and more about embracing what I want to play. And look, Not every game is going to hit the same way as it did when you were younger, and that's fine. It's a part of the journey. Rediscovering the joy in gaming doesn't mean chasing nostalgia. Maybe this week you want a big epic adventure like Tears of the Kingdom, and next week you just want to race go-karts with friends and laugh at how bad everyone is at Mario Kart. And you know what? That's what it's all about. You know, it's not just about growing older or finding new interests. Sometimes it's about the changing landscape of gaming itself. Games today are more complex, more polished, and way more demanding than the ones we used to love. Back in the day, all we needed was a controller and a dream. The plot was simple, the gameplay was straightforward, and the challenge came from figuring out the controls or dodging a few frustrating jumps. But now, games often come with a huge learning curve, multiple systems to master, and a massive online community to compete with. I'm over here just trying to remember which button opens the map, and suddenly the game wants me to craft a whole arsenal of weapons. Like, just let me play the game. I don't want to join a new life skill system. And I've talked about this, but with complexity comes accessibility. It's not just about getting the game to work. Developers are trying to make sure everyone can enjoy the experience. Don't get me wrong, that's great and all, but sometimes I miss the days when a game didn't hold my hand, when you could just get lost in a world and only figure things out through trial and error. You know, it's funny, because nowadays tutorials are practically built into the game. You don't need to ask your friend for help anymore. They just throw in these handy pop-up tips to explain exactly how to do everything. I mean, I get it, people are busier, and no one has time to figure out what button to press to climb a ladder. But there's something magical about learning a game without a guidebook constantly hovering over you. It's like I'm missing out of some of the mystery, the part that made us feel like we were discovering something new. Everyone wants hyper-realistic graphics now. It's all about photorealism and recreating real life down to the finest detail. And this is the reason games cost $70. And look, I get it, games today look stunning. I can see the individual strands of hair on a character's head, and I swear I can smell the fresh rain on the street as I walk through a beautifully recreated city. But here's the thing, sometimes all the detail is a little too much. I remember a time when graphics weren't the selling point. They were more like the cherry on top of the sundae. Now, games feel more like a stimulation of life. And I start to wonder, am I playing a game or am I just living inside of a game? So another thing that's changed is the whole online culture around gaming. It used to be so easy to dive into a single player game, get lost in a world and just enjoy the experience at your own pace. But now, every single game has an online component. Look at Assassin's Creed. Whether it's multiplayer modes, leaderboards, or constant updates, it's just hard to ignore that pressure to stay connected, to be competitive, or keep up with the next big release. If I think back, I could spend weeks on a single player game and never worry about missing out. No, if you don't jump into the latest online event, you're left out. The sense of community in gaming has grown, but sometimes that means there's no room left for solo gaming. So yeah, maybe we've outgrown games, or maybe the games we loved evolved into something that just doesn't click with us anymore. It's not about being too old for gaming, far from it. It's about recognizing that we're evolving. Our tastes change, the gaming industry changes, and even the way we interact with games change. But you know what? That's fine. The beauty of gaming is that there's always something new to explore, something fresh to try. And if you've outgrown one kind of game, there's always something else waiting for you. One that suits where you are right now. Thank you for coming on this little nostalgia trip with me and watching the video. If you liked it, maybe you'll like my next video. And as always, don't forget to like, share, comment, donate, masturbate.